Good day, everyone. Today I'm tying another Freestyle Salmon Fly. The hook is a Philip Jones blind eye hook with a Silkworm Gut already attached. Here I'm trimming the excess gut on a taper so it's flush with the hook. I've switched to the Uni-Nylon 70 Denier, a flat white thread. Secure with a few wraps the prepared fine oval gold tinsel for the tag from underneath the hook, starting at the end of the silkworm gut by the core. Adjust the oval gold tinsel so the tinsel portion is even with the bar point. Secure with smooth flat wraps to that point. Wrap a base for the tag with smooth flat wraps and spiral the thread out of the way. Wrap the tinsel with tight edge-to-edge wraps along the base for 5 turns. Remove the tinsel to the core and secure by the core from underneath the hook to the point with smooth flat wraps and trim the excess. Wrap the thread with smooth flat wraps to the end of the silkworm gut and trim any tags. Make any adjustments to the tag. Here I'm using a burnishing tool for the job. Fold a single strand of gold silk floss over the thread and secure with flat smooth wraps flush with the tag. Wrap a smooth base with a flat thread, even with the hook point. Spiral the thread out of the way and burnish the area. Wrap the gold silk floss around the base, slightly overlap to the point. Unwind the thread and secure the floss tag along the threaded area from underneath the hook with smooth flat wraps to the end of the silkworm gut. Fold the floss over and secure with smooth flat wraps to about the halfway point on the threaded area. Fold the floss over again and secure with smooth flat wraps to the end of the silkworm gut and trim the tags. Then bring the thread back with smooth flat wraps to the silk tag. With this method, you're gradually building a tapered body. Burnish the threaded area, spiral the thread out of the way, and burnish the silk tag so it's smooth. Next, prepare the Golden Pheasant Crest for the tail. Have the tip slightly past the bend of the hook and trim the excess. Remove the excess fibers and flatten the stem. Secure on top of the hook, centered in front of the silk tag by the flattened stem. Prepare the first veil, an Indian crow feather already measured about half the length of the crest. Flatten the stem and secure on top of the crest and centered with a few wraps. Add the blue chatterer feather for the second veil on top of the Indian crow and centered. The length is about half the length of the Indian crow. Take a strand of ostrich herl, strip away the fibers from the stem. Secure the herl by the stem at the base of the tag and trim the excess. Wrap the base into a taper and spiral the thread out of the way. Wrap the herl edge to edge along the base for 5 turns. Secure the remainder from underneath the hook to the end of the folded silk floss and trim the excess. Wrap the thread forward to the end of the silkworm gut with smooth flat wraps. For the 3-part rib, first add the prepared fine oval red tinsel and secure by the core underneath the hook and adjust it so the tinsel portion is even with the butt. Next, add a single strand of the gold silk floss beside the tinsel for the second rib with a few wraps. For the third rib, prepare a medium flat embossed silver tinsel by trimming out a notch with curved scissors. Secure the tinsel beside the silk floss and adjust it so the thinnest part of the notch is even with the herl. Grasp all 3 strands firmly, all parallel to each other, and secure with smooth flat wraps to the ostrich hurl butt. Flatten the thread by spinning the bobbin counterclockwise, and wrap the thread with smooth flat wraps to the start and trim the tags flush with the end of the silkworm gut. Build up the thread back and forth to the start with smooth flat wraps. Add the black silk floss from underneath the hook and secure with smooth flat wraps to the ostrich hurl butt. Burnish the entire threaded area till smooth. Next, measure the body. First measure the head, which is the same length as the gut eye, the collar, and the halfway point of the body. Build up the thread into a taper on the first half of the body, from the ostrich hurl butt to the middle mark, and spiral the thread out of the way. Burnish the area until it's smooth. Wrap the black silk floss with overlapped smooth wraps to the middle mark. Unwind the thread to the middle mark and secure the floss from underneath the hook to the silkworm gut with smooth flat wraps. Fold the thread over and secure with smooth wraps along the threaded area. Fold the thread again just before the black silk body and secure with smooth flat wraps to the silkworm gut, and trim the excess flush with the wraps. Burnish the silk body till it's smooth. Wrap the red oval tinsel along the black silk body for 3 turns, evenly spaced and angled, and on the 4th wrap of the threaded area, mark it. This is where the body hackle starts. For the body hackle, I'm using a large dun hackle off a hen saddle with a thin stem. Remove the waste fibers from the lower stem and flatten with smooth pliers. Attach a hackle plier to the lower stem. Grasp the tip firmly so the stem is tight, like a guitar string. Fold the fibers of the left side of the stem under the right using your thumb and forefinger. Wrap the thread with smooth flat wraps to the mark. Secure the hackle by the tip starting at the mark. Wrap with smooth wraps to the end of the silkworm gut. And trim the excess flush with the wraps. Add the purple silk floss from underneath the hook, starting at the end of the silkworm gut. Secure with smooth flat wraps along the threaded area, around the hackle to the end of the black silk body. Wrap the thread forward with smooth flat wraps back and forth to the start and burnish the area until smooth. Fold the hackle off to the side and hold it in place with the thread. Wrap the purple silk floss forward, behind and in front of the hackle with smooth overlap wraps along the threaded area. Secure to the second mark and trim the excess. Burnish the area for a smooth finish. Fold the hackle off to the side and hold it in place with the thread again. Wrap the red oval tinsel as a rib, evenly angled in space with the fourth rib sitting to the right of the hackle, and secure with firm wraps at the start and trim the excess. Wrap the gold silk floss tight to the red oval tinsel for the second rib and secure in the same area as the red oval tinsel and trim the excess. Followed by the medium flat embossed silver tinsel beside the floss. Secure with firm wraps. Trim. And wet finish. Attach a hackle plier to the hackle stem. Here I'm using a spring-loaded hackle plier, less chance of slipping. Wrap the hackle tight to the red oval tinsel, pulling the fibers back with your fingers. Once you get past the body, wrap the remaining hackle as a collar with tight edge-to-edge wraps. Secure by the stem with firm wraps. Trim the excess. Build up the thread and whip finish. For the collar, prepare the dyed black Mallard Flank Spey hackle. Flatten the stem and fold the hackle the same way as the previous hackle. Secure by the tip in front of the done hackle with tight firm wraps. Then fold the tip back, secure and trim the excess. This precaution prevents the hackle from slipping out when wrapped under torque. Wrap the mallard hackle with tight edge-to-edge wraps for the collar. Secure by the stem with tight firm wraps and trim the excess, and build up the thread. Brush out the fibers on both hackles to free any trapped fibers. Remove the fibers from both hackles on top of the hook, down to the stem, and pull the remaining fibers downward. For the underwing, prepare the Lady Amherst pheasant quill. Take a section from each side of the quill left and right and even. Have a section of the stem attached to each wing. That will keep the fibers together when securing. Place them back to back with the tips even. Holding the ends firmly, bend the wings in the opposite direction to get the required arch. Secure on top of the hook, centered with a soft loop and a cinch wrap. I want the tips even with the tip of the second veil. Trim the excess on a taper with a razor, build up the thread and whip finish. For the married wing, starting from the bottom, dyed blue, yellow, and red turkey, 3 strands each, Argus pheasant and Cory bustard, 3 strands each, dyed blue, yellow, red, and orange turkey, 2 strands each, finally the Argus pheasant for 2 strands, all tapered. I'm starting at the bottom with a thick section of the dyed blue turkey, then adding the yellow and red turkey tapered and removing the excess. Then add the Argus pheasant and Cory bustard, removing the excess. Then add the dyed turkey colors again, topped off with Argus pheasant. Trim the butts square. Here are the finished wings. Place both wings together, back to back with the tips even, and bend the wings so there's a space in between, and set it so the underwing can go in between. Adjust the wing so the tip is slightly shorter than the tip of the golden pheasant tail. Secure on top of the hook with a soft loop and a cinch wrap. Adjust at this point, then add a few more cinch wraps. Whip finish to lock in the wing. Adjust the wings so they sit properly by bending the wings in an arch. Add the married segments of wood duck and teal for the sides. Have the tips even at the start of the third rib. Secure with a soft loop and a cinch wrap. Repeat on the opposite side, matching the bars on the wood duck on each side of the main wing. Once secured, whip finish to lock them in place. Trim the excess on a taper using a razor. Build up the thread over the trimmed butts. Next, prepare a natural guinea fowl hackle. Choose a hackle with a thin, flexible stem. Flatten the stem and fold the hackle like the previous hackles. Secure the hackle by the tip tight to the collar from underneath the hook. Trim the excess, build up the thread over the trimmed butts and whip finish. Wrap the hackle with tight edge-to-edge wraps along the tapered threaded area. Secure by the stem, trim the excess and build up the thread and whip finish. Remove the fibers from the hackle on top of the hook, down to the stem. And pull the remaining fibers downward. Next, prepare the jungle cock feathers. Place them together with the tips even and measure. I want the end of the tips even with the beginning of the black bar on the wood duck. Remove the waste portion from the stem at that point. Flatten the stem and secure on each side of the wing, left and right. Prepare 2 segments of the bronze mallard. Trim the segments from each side of the stem left and right and even, leaving the stems intact. Place them back to back with the tips even and bend them the opposite way at the same time to conform with the main wing. Place both wings on top of the main wing so it straddles it evenly. And secure with a soft loop and a cinch wrap, and whip finish. Add the prepared Indian crow by the flattened stem on each side of the wing. The length is about half the length of the jungle cock feather. Next, prepare the golden pheasant crest. Use a proper crest that has the same arch as the wing. Trim the excess and remove any unwanted fibers. Flatten the stem for the tying point. Place the crest over the wing and centered, and secure by the stem. Prepare the blue macaw for the horns. Take a single strand from each side of the stem, left and right. Have the tips even and measure. I want the tips even with the tip of the first veil on the tail. Trim the butts even at that point and secure on each side of the wing. Trim the excess on a taper. Build up the thread, whip finish, and trim. Start the black thread, trim the tag, and cover the white head. Whip finish, trim, and add thin head cement. Once the head is completely dry, add the 5-minute epoxy evenly around the head. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe and hit the like button to see more.